All right, decided to come out backpacking 2 weekends in a row. I'm such a lucky guy. So I decided to start at Mullis Pass and drop down into the Animas Valley, and then I'm gonna go up into Vestal Basin over here. So I'm gonna do 4 days, 3 nights. Should be awesome. Those are the grenadiers over there, which you may remember from last week's video, or the last video, I should say. So this trail is kind of interesting because it switchbacks down this basically 1,000 feet down into a river basin. So you start really high, and then you have to switch back all the way down into this river, and then you start climbing back up again. So it's quite a long backpacking trip. This is also the Colorado Trail, and in fact you can see the Colorado Trail sign right there. And yeah, it's one of my favorite places on earth. I actually have a tattoo of that mountain, Vestal, on my arm, and I've got an idea in mind for this particular trip. There is a mountain directly across the valley from Vestal Peak and Arrow Peak, which are these two really impressive mountains that sweep up. It's quartzite. And on the other side of the valley from them is a mountain called Peak 3, and then it has a shoulder that extends out across, and if you gain that shoulder, you get this really striking view of the grenadiers with nothing in between you and them. So that's kind of my main photography objective for this trip. I've also would like to climb Peak 1, Peak 2, Peak 3, but we'll see how my legs are. I weighed my backpack before I left the house. I'm at 44 pounds, which isn't bad, considering I have all this camera gear with me and a bunch of food and water, so should be fine. Well, I should probably focus on the trail, but that's what we have in store for this trip. Thanks. Ooh, well, I'm about 8 miles in now, 7 miles. Two of my favorite mountains, Arrow and Vestal. Pretty tired. 720, burned 1,000 calories. I think I'm thinking about stopping in the beaver ponds just up the trail, spend the night there. But this is what I live for. This is one of the most amazing places in Colorado, Vestal Basin. I know, nature first, you know, use discretion before sharing locations, but it's a pretty tough place to get to. I'll just say that. Been listening to some podcasts on the way in. Been enjoying listening to David Johnston's podcast. Particular note, enjoy his conversation with Cole Thompson and the conversation he had about being afraid of creativity. It's got me thinking a lot about the photos that I want to take on this trip and trying to be a little bit more creative in my image making as opposed to documentary. So we'll see what I can pull off, I should say. But yeah, obviously you can tell probably I'm pretty tired. Speaking of being tired in photography, I had a really interesting conversation with my friend Alex Noriega when we were out of Yosemite about, you know, doing trips like this. It makes you really tired, which makes it harder for you to be creative. So I'm going to be fighting that this trip for sure. So hopefully I can create something good. We'll see. All right. Oh, what's up, guys? Last night I made it up to Vestal Basin, like 9:30 at night. It was pretty brutal. I was whipped, let's just say that. But man, what a reward. Up here, you've got the 3 Trinities over there, Vestal, Wham Ridge, and Arrow. And my plan for today, I'm kind of just scouting because I had to sleep in a little because I was whipped. But I'm gonna climb this ridge because I think there's gonna be an awesome shot of Vestal and Arrow from up there. And there's no trail, it's just bushwhacking, you know, up through this tundra, I guess you could say. Wildflowers, grass, and rock. And it's not easy. I'm thinking I should have left the telephoto at home, but we'll see him. Love the telephoto shot of Wham over there. But yeah, this is awesome. There's lakes down here. I'm in really great shape this year, but this is still hard. It's just, especially with all this camera gear, of course, but you can't tell, but I'm holding a tripod with a Sony a7R IV and a Sigma 14-24, which is not light, so I'm getting an arm workout too. But yeah, I'm kind of in a race for the weather. It looks clean right now, but it's based on the forecast yesterday, it looks like, you know, around 1 o'clock there's supposed to be thunderstorms. So it's almost 9 a.m. now, which is really late, sorry for me, but I'm thinking I'll have enough time to get up, scout this location, and make it back down, or stay up there. We'll see what the weather does. But yeah, welcome to my favorite place in Colorado. It definitely does not get any better than this, in my opinion. So we'll see what we can get. All right, made it up to this ridge, and I've been wanting to get up to this ridge for 10 years, probably. It's I see it on the map all the time. I'm like, oh man, that ridge just looks amazing. And it is. You have a really fantastic view of Vestal and Vestal Lake and Arrow, and you have the three Trinities as I was pointing out earlier. But oh man, I think that's, pretty sure that's peak 3. I think I'm gonna just go tag that real quick. And I think over there is peak 2 and then peak 1. And then Storm King is poking out in the back there too. But this is a fantastic spot to be able to access a lot of different things that I want to do while I'm up here. But yeah, I think this vantage of Vestal is pretty amazing. Based on the orientation, I mean, I think it's definitely a sunrise shot. But depending on the weather, I'll try to stick up here as long as I can and shoot it at sunset too. And I did do some work on photo pills, and the Milky Way will be over here. So, and the moon is where it needs to be. So if everything cooperates, maybe I'll get some great photographs today or tomorrow. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to climb this mountain over here. You can see it's pretty easy stroll up here. I think I'm at about 12.5 elevation. No wind at all, which is awesome. And the sun is shining. Clouds look not ominous yet, so that's promising. And not to plug other people's podcasts, but I was just listening to more of David Johnston's podcast, and he was just talking with Alistair Ben and about flow states and creativity, and it was really helpful. It's nice to hear other people talk about their approach to the craft, and we'll see if I can have that translate into something interesting for this trip. All right, well, let's see if we can get to the top of this mountain. All right, making my way up peak 1 here. Made it into this amazing boulder field. That's what I have to look forward to, is just straight up this boulder field, which basically you just pick your way. My advice for people is look for the big rocks that are flat with a lot of moss on them and test every step. I love how the wind decides to come right when I'm recording. Anyway, still got a really great view of Vestal and Arrow, and I'm looking forward to getting up here, eating a little food, and if the weather still holds, I might try to make it over to Peak 2. Why not? Why not? Cool. Well, this is probably not safe to try to do this while holding a camera, but this is essentially the fun that I have in store for myself. All right, well, see you on the top. All right, here we are on the summit of Peak 3. And well, it's actually right there, but it's a pretty sweet view. Excuse me. So far so good on the weather. Looks pretty good. Not too worried about it. It's usually, what is it? 11 o'clock, I'd be pretty worried, but there hasn't been any clouds developing. I mean, those are just like wispies. But it's beautiful up here. Not very many people get to see this view, and I'd say it's probably one of the best views in Colorado. I'm looking forward to going back down to the ridge and seeing if I can set up a shot for sunset, even though it's 11 a.m. So, yeah, I feel great. I was worried about my legs after last night, which was absolutely brutal. When I was at the beaver ponds, which is just 2 miles from my campsite, I was like, oh, I can do this. And I think I gained 2,000 feet in those 2 miles, maybe more. It's just brutal. It's just straight up crappy trail. And you're carrying all your gear, you know, your backpack, your tent, your sleeping pad, your sleeping bag, your food, your water. Well, I ran out of water, and I was too lazy to stop and get more. So about halfway through that, I ran out of water, and I was like, well, just gotta keep going. And then I crashed. Slept a good 8-9 hours. Felt great. My legs feel really good today. But yeah, excited to be here. I climbed Vestal and Arrow all the way back in 2009. Arrow or Vestal, the Wham Ridge, requires rope. I mean, it doesn't require it, but you'd be a little crazy to not use rope. And Arrow looks like you'd need rope, but it's just awesome route up that ramp. And I actually was able to photograph sunset from up there. Would love to do that again someday. All right, well, I should probably get heading down. Excited to be here and to show you what Colorado's all about. All right, made it over here to Peak 2, Needle Range Peak 2. Sign the summit register right there. Great view still, but got some weather coming. I think I should probably hightail it. Don't want to be caught in a lightning storm up here, but and I'm getting kind of low on water. Go figure. It's like my trademark move. But yeah, looking forward to shooting more down there later. Just wanted to check this out. Cool, here we go. All right, well, I dropped myself down off of peak 2, down the saddle, and of course my attention was grabbed by this lake here, but as I was walking down through, been trying to, use my own advice, and also like Alistair Ben, like be open to what you find, and if you find something that catches your attention, shoot it. And this lake is draining down into this kind of swampy area here, and there's all these little tide pools everywhere, and then there's a whole, if you can see, there's a whole series of little lakes down there. So I'm going to try to find some kind of composition to get this really interesting water. The weather's still looking okay, it's that way. The wind is, I don't know, I should hurry. But let me see what kind of photo I can make here. Well, nothing spectacular came from photographing those pools of water. It was a lot of fun trying to find a photograph there. From here, I decided to hike back onto the ridge I started on, where I encountered one of many high-elevation orb weaver spiders nestled between some boulders. These are called Acul Piera. I have always been amazed by the tenacity of nature at high elevation. Life simply finds a way to make it work, even in harsh conditions such as these. I decided to spend the rest of the day up on the ridge overlooking Vestal and Arrow peaks. I wandered about looking for interesting foregrounds to possibly include in compositions within a photograph. My hope was that once the high clouds put on more of a colorful display, that I would be ready to strike. While waiting for the light to improve, I photographed various rocks, flowers, and other patterns in nature found up on the ridgeline. I was naturally very interested in composing some scenes using my telephoto lens. My subjects included close by 14,000 foot peaks such as Sunlight Peak, as well as Vestal's Wham Ridge. Much to my dismay and partial excitement, a massive and impressive thunderstorm moved into the area west of me, making for an absolutely incredible display of nature. We'll tune in next week to find out how my sunset photography turned out and to hear about what I learned from my experience photographing Vestal and Arrow from 13,000 feet. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to subscribe, comment, and like. See you next week!